Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. I'd like to start this morning by honoring our MVP for the month of October, Ms. Jane Sperry. Can you come up, please? Sure. So Jane was nominated by our Director of Marketing and Sales, Mary Lou Latinaland. And Mary Lou wrote, "Jane is always smiling and happy to walk into Fox Run every day. She's always willing to lend a helping hand to any department, but that's not what she was nominated for. With our new expansion project coming, Jane has embraced a whole new role in helping with her third-party auditor. Jane stayed till almost 8 p.m. one Monday to copy information to send for the Forbes audit. Our CFO Jill was here also till 10 p.m. auditing files, and if Jane hadn't done that work the day prior, there's no doubt Jill would not have gotten through all the things that she did. Jane helps with depositor checks, which also is a new task that has been added to her role recently. She was a huge help when our controller unexpectedly went out of the office. Jane takes care of ordering office supplies for all Fox Run and even embraces ordering random ice cream clocks and decor to make Fox Run look great. Jane is a very hard worker and the definition of a team player. I have the pleasure of working in the office right next door to Jane, and I can't say there's a day that doesn't go by that you're happy and bubbly and just always willing to pitch in. So, congratulations, Jane.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Jane. I just wanted to mention, I know yesterday I put out a memo regarding the library. I do want to give a special thank you to community members Catherine Way and Ann Floyd. They went through the whole library upstairs. They decided what books should be donated, what books we should store, and then have done a wonderful job of setting up a temporary library, which is over in the assisted living area. Yes, Mike?
Where will the bookmobile visit?
The bookmobile will probably temporarily do it in Creative Arts, so stay tuned for an update on that.
It's Tuesday. Next week.
Okay, it'll be in Creative Arts then.
Anyway.
Thank you. But a special, if everyone give them a special hand, they went through a lot of work for that. And we are looking for a spot for the computers. Those haven't quite been moved yet, but those will be moved over to assisted living at some point. So we want to make sure you still have access to those all through construction. I hope everyone had a chance to read their newsletter. I know Bill is not here today, but he gave a very detailed update on the expansion. I know we still are waiting for a few more hurdles to get through, but he's optimistic that we will still break ground in October. You will be informed of that, and like promised, Lehigh will be coming in to talk about the phasing and do all that. But if you haven't read that article yet, it's 2 pages. He gives a lot of details on that. Lisa, do you want to give your announcement?
Hello, I just have a quick one today, and I'm not talking about food. We are going to be running a kind of a little special event through the month of October. Some of you may have seen it in the newsletter, but we are going to be running Socktober. So all of Compass Group, which is the parent company of Morrison Living across the nation, we are all running Socktober, and each account we're picking a charity, yes, to donate socks to. We have chosen to do the Harvest House, which is where the toy drive will also partner with. So we are collecting socks. Now with Harvest House, they deal with babies to adolescents to 18 to any age, so socks of all sizes. And for anybody. We are collecting them at the Bistro Culinary Center. You'll see a big box there. We're hoping to fill it up and have to replace it. But as many socks as you are willing and happy to donate, they need to be new socks, not slightly used or anything for this, but new socks for babies, children, adolescents, adults. Any size, shape, and color will be appreciated. And then we are going to have a fun event in the middle of the month. We're going to do a sock hop to kind of have fun, and we all hope you all wear your most creative socks, do sock hops. So more to come on that, okay? All right, thank you. We had a couple of resident announcements, but first I would like to bring Margaret Robillard up from nominating committee.
Hi, it's me, Margaret, back again.
Edge your mouth, Margaret.
Oh, right, I know, I always do this wrong, but I'm here today because we had basically a glitch in our nominating committee, with the nominating committee. One of the members of that was elected is now on the board due to her being elected last year as the first person and Betty Christ resigning. Therefore, we had to find another candidate, and thanks to many people, particularly Jim Biddle, Nettie, and the nominating committee, we were fortunate enough to find a wonderful volunteer. And I'd like to introduce Barb Timazet to you so that you can see her, meet and greet her. I'm only sorry that there aren't as many people here today as there were at the original meet and greet. Barbara?
Good morning. Well, here I am. I didn't think I would be here last week, but this is how surprises happen. I'm very happy to volunteer for this position. It's an interesting position, and I'm enthusiastic about it. What I wanted to do today is just to introduce myself. I have not been here that long, so I'm still learning many things. And I came in January of 24, so it's been about a year and a half, almost 2 years. I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself and my background. It's a little different than what was presented by other candidates. So hopefully I will fit in. But anyway, my life work has always been in some form of nursing service. And I have a bachelor's of nursing, and in not only nursing, but education. It happened to be that when I was in high school in 54, women only had like about 2 or 3 tracks, nursing, secretarial work, or education. I couldn't decide, nursing or education, so my guidance teacher said, go to Plattsburgh because you can do both. So I got my degree in both, and that was very exciting. I also have a master's in nursing, and also in research. That was, I graduated with that in about 1978. That was later in my life. And I also have my nurse practitioner certification. So I did practice as a nurse practitioner in the arthritis clinic, in the high-risk birth clinic, and some other areas that I substituted. Okay, my general employment history is eclectic, because I really retired after about 2 or 3 times for good when I was 83. I love my profession so much, I just couldn't leave. So what happened is that I have a lot of various activities in my background. In the early days, I worked at Children's Hospital in Buffalo in a research project, and that was fostered by the National Institute of Health across the country, about 16 places, looking for the cause of cerebral palsy in children. My job was to follow mothers in labor delivery and evaluating small infants in the nursery. After that, I did a few things, but I ended up, after I was married, in Binghamton, where I then became involved in teaching nursing students at Binghamton General Hospital. I stayed in that profession for about 13 years teaching. Eventually, that morphed into a role in administration, and I had the title of Clinical Director of Psychiatry there. They were in the process of wanting an acute psychiatric unit, so I participated in with the architects, purchasing the furniture. Actually, Binghamton General sent me to Rochester for about 4 weeks so I could see how their unit functioned. Then I came back to Binghamton and tried to implement something along that line, along with the psychiatrist that they had hired. Of course, now, that was about 1979. It turned out that Binghamton General thought they needed a crisis unit in their emergency room. So then I was involved in establishing a crisis unit in our hospital. I worked with the Department of New York, the Psychiatric Center, and I worked with the Broome County Mental Health Department. So we had a flow. People who were disturbed could come into the crisis unit, and then we would appropriately place them. It was a very wonderful experience. I loved every minute of it. After retiring, for one of the times I retired, I went and I participated in, I worked at Good Shepherd Fairview Home in Binghamton. They hired me. I was there for a number of years. That was an extended care facility. And there, they were happy to have me. I was a supervisor and covered the skilled rehab, the assisted living areas, and I also helped develop a CNA program so they could have aides. And that was very good for them and for me. I enjoyed it. Along the line of my work somewhere in those years, I had a position with the New York State. It was a part-time position. I did it in conjunction with other work I was doing. It was an extension of the New York State Social Services Department. They had an arm, it was called Island Peer Review. And it was like a quality assurance program that they had monitoring various care given to patients with mental health issues to make sure that they had appropriate treatments wherever they were placed. So I traveled a lot with that, but mostly I kept in the 607 area code because I couldn't go where they wanted me. But I had to be some limitations on that. But why I'm bringing that up is it gave me an opportunity to see various extended care and nursing home facilities and in New York State. It is an eye-opener. And I will tell you that I have never, ever found a place such as Fox Run. And the aesthetic values here, the atmosphere, the camaraderie, and the interface between residents and administration is remarkable. You cannot see, everyone seems to be on one plane. In other areas, in other institutions, you see people that have labels, and you're categorized. Someone belongs here, someone belongs there, like little boxes. This is not that way. It's a wonderful institution, and I'm very happy to be here. I never in 100 years thought I would ever find a place like this. Just in summary, I want to say that in management, there was some materials written to identify what is a well-managed place, institution, company. And in that particular writing, they were saying it's like Disney World. Disney had a wonderful, extremely well-managed operation. Things you couldn't identify, but you knew it when you saw it. And when I came to Fox Run, I knew it when I saw it. It was a very remarkable experience for me to be introduced to Fox Run. In conclusion, I would like to just tell you my reasons for wanting to become a resident on the resident council as a member, and mostly it's kind of in keeping with my kind of service attitude, but to participate in contributing to the quality of life here. We have, sometimes things are taken for granted, but we have an extremely wonderful quality of life. One of the reasons is there's open communication between the residents living here and administration. And I would like to be part of that, and especially with the new expansion coming up, we are going to be facing, we as residents, a great deal of adaptation. We're going to have to be digging deep to be able to adjust and change our ways of getting around and doing things for a moment or for a period of time. That could be stressful, but if we keep communication open and support each other as we have been, I think it'll do well, and I'd like to be part of that. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you all have a great day and a beautiful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Best of luck to you. I think we just had one more quick community announcement. Dale?
Thank you. Hi, for those who don't know me, I'm Dale Rothbell. I'm also running for council, and I'll vouch for Barb that she's an amazing, amazing woman and friend, and you'd be lucky to have her. I'm here to talk about the FREEF Committee, the Fox Run Employee Appreciation Fund, and we're collecting donations, as you can see by all our flyers, and we're still looking for donations. We have some amazing ones. You know, we have artists here. We have someone with driving experience. We have, look at them. We have a lot of interesting and wonderful donations, so we're still asking for more because we really want this to be exciting. And what we ask you is to look in your closets, your drawers, your cupboards, and find something really nice that you would buy for yourself if you didn't already donate it. So let's see, we're going to be announcing this at the next meeting. We're going to have new flyers. Let me just see if there's anything else that I was asked to tell you. Sorry. We're going to be posting some photos soon, so you can see we have, yes, Mike?
I'd like to suggest something shorter than Fox Run Employee Appreciation Fund.
It's FREEF.
Huh?
FREEF. FREEF. The FREEF Committee.
Can it go on the check that way?
Yes. Definitely. Oh, and speaking of that, we're also asking for, we're going to have a box for additional monetary donations or checks, because while we do still ask that you make your annual contribution, we want this year to be really, really, really more special. We have some amazing employees, and we want to let them know how much we appreciate them, because we really, really do. And they make Fox Run part of the great organization, great place to live. And, you know, administration, the employees, and the residents, all together we form Fox Run. So we want to show our appreciation, especially to our employees, and we hope you make your donation, and we hope you come to the auction, which is going to be on the 24th of October. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Okay, I would like to bring up our speaker today. I'd like to introduce the Executive Director for Ralph Wilson Park, Katie Campos.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be here with you, and I appreciate you making the time to come out to hear a little bit about what we're doing down at Ralph Wilson Park. I'm Katie Campos. I'm the Executive Director of the Ralph Wilson Park Conservancy. I grew up in Buffalo, went away a couple of times, previously served in Governor Andrew Cuomo's cabinet as his education secretary. Then I came home to Buffalo to launch Teach for America Buffalo, and have been involved in a number of organizations locally and nationally, mostly related to education, but also focused on working with community towards a greater purpose. And so when they reached out to me about helping to manage the transformation of LaSalle Park, now Ralph Wilson Park, I was entirely excited about what they had done and what will happen. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story of Ralph Wilson Park, how we got to this point, and where we're going from here. So to start, how many of you are familiar with Ralph Wilson Park? All right. And how many of you are familiar with the former LaSalle Park? How many of you have been there? Great. And how many of you know about Ralph Wilson? All right, let's go Bills. All right, let's get underway then. So the Ralph Wilson Foundation is making a legendary investment in Buffalo. With the sale of the Bills, Mary Wilson and the Ralph Wilson Foundation chose to make a massive investment for what would have been Ralph Wilson's 100th birthday in a city of Buffalo Park. This transformation is going to be one of the largest investments in public space in Buffalo's history, and it's one of the largest investments in a public park across the country right now. Okay, so 7 years ago, the Ralph Wilson Foundation announced that they were going to make a major investment, their largest gift yet, to rebuild part of LaSalle Park. And a focus group of park users, led by the University of Buffalo Regional Institute, set out to imagine what a world-class park could look like. At first, they had a really hard time envisioning what a world-class park could look like. So the first things they said were, we want bathrooms, we want trash cans. The kids said, we don't want our parents to have to pick up trash before we play at the playground. And so the University of Buffalo Regional Institute said, you know what, we gotta get them to see and play in a world-class park. So they took them to New York City, Chicago, and Cincinnati to gain inspiration. They came home just buzzing with ideas about what a world-class park could look like. And they started a survey series where they engaged thousands of residents. I actually grew up at LaSalle Park. I always played soccer there. I used to play adult soccer there. I would walk off the field and have to fill out a number of surveys about what do we want to happen to create a world-class LaSalle Park. So in 2017, when the Wilson Foundation set out to rebuild LaSalle Park, they actually only intended to rebuild part of LaSalle Park. They wanted to rebuild 20 to 30 acres right in the center of the park, mainly the athletic fields. And through the community-driven design period, excitement built. I think a lot of people who were part of the design team did not realize how passionate Buffalonians can be about Buffalo. And the community had a much bigger vision for the design of this park. So the design started as just 20 to 30 acres in the middle of the park. You can see here that the community's vision was to actually transform the entire park. They wanted world-class athletic fields, which we will have. But they also wanted, did it go there? A destination playground, which will be right in the middle of the park. This is a 160-foot freighter that is 3 stories tall. This isn't just swings and a slide. There's nothing like this around here. The closest one is in New York City. And so this is going to be the place that kids and adults are going to want to play. The community also wanted access to the water through a kayak launch. This is part of our community that has not historically had access to the water. They wanted places to gather for picnics. They wanted a dog park. They wanted a truly world-class park. They wanted many more paths to walk. You can see on your left, the path for pedestrians was the same as the path for cars. There will be 4 times as many pedestrian paths and a much thinner car path. They wanted a place to gather and relax. So this is called our Great Lawn. It's a great swath of green space with hills and valleys and places to sit. It's truly beautiful. They wanted more than incredible amenities. In the design process, the community said that their #1 priority was access. that LaSalle Park, if you remember going there, was not the easiest park to get to, especially if you lived in the interior of the city. There was a bridge there that you probably saw when you drove down 190. It's at Buffalo, a great place to live with a dancer. But it wasn't a safe bridge. We heard from a lot of parents, a lot of grandparents, that they didn't feel safe when their kids went over that bridge. My mom actually never let me go over that bridge because you couldn't see who was on top when you were down below. And it had these switchbacks, so you couldn't bike up there. It was really hard to take a stroller there. And there was just kind of some like unseemly stuff happening up there, so kids were afraid of getting mugged and stuff like that. So, you might be familiar with this. The team added a $20 million infrastructure project to this transformation of the park, a state-of-the-art pedestrian bridge, and a transformed 4th Street Park. This isn't just an add-on of a bridge. There was a global competition to find the designer for this bridge. And it is an art in a place that has rich architectural history like Buffalo. The firm that was chosen was ultimately chosen because they went out of their way to really lean into that architectural history. The cutouts of the bridge are inspired by the Guarantee Building. It's wide, it's open, and it's accessible, it's beautiful. Hopefully you watched the bridge come down the Erie Canal. How many of you saw the bridge coming actually up the Erie Canal around this time last year? Our team, we're just a team of 2 right now, but we thought that this is a massive deal for Buffalo, right? The last time we had an architecturally significant bridge was 100 years ago when the Peace Bridge was built. Now we have a new bridge, Ralph Wilson Park Bridge. I don't even know when the last time the entirety of the Erie Canal was traveled for an economic purpose at the scale of Ralph Wilson Park Bridge. So we made sure to get people out there. This is us welcoming the Ralph Wilson Park Bridge through the final lock at Lockport. July of last year, over 1,000 people gathered between 6:30 and 7:30 in the morning just to watch the bridge come through the canal. It was awesome. Buffalo was very proud. So we had the addition of the bridge. You saw that we outgrew the addition of just athletic fields. It was a much more transformed park. Work got underway, and it became apparent that the 100-year-old seawall was beyond its useful life. You might remember this if you've been down there. The park was consistently flooding. As someone who grew up at this park, it was just a mess. The roads had sinkholes in them. Playing soccer there, I'm lucky I never actually I did sprain a bunch of ankles. I never broke an ankle. It was really rough because the park was deteriorating. And so as work got underway, this magnificent vision to transform the entirety of the park was at risk because our shoreline was failing. And so the team added another infrastructure project, a $60 million infrastructure project, to transform 1 mile of shoreline. We couldn't rebuild the park without rebuilding the shoreline first. So you might remember the old LaSalle Park had a straight edge. I'll actually share an interesting fact, which many of you probably know. LaSalle Park was not always a park. In the early 1800s, it was actually just this like sandy, loamy area. It's where the infirmary was for the War of 1812. It was actually a burial ground. I should say we have not found any burial remains. The reason it was a burial ground is that the lake is so intense there that it kind of sweeps everything away and down the river. Then when the Erie Canal was dug, the park was the fill. So when the Erie Canal ran along the 190 there, that was the end of the Erie Canal. And laborers filled in the side of that lake. And then in the 1930s, the mayor and a bunch of business leaders said, you know what, for the centennial of the city of Buffalo, let's give them a park. And that's why it became called Centennial Park in 1932. All that to say, this was not a park. You don't find straight lines in nature. It's hard, you don't usually see concrete up against a lake unless you're in an industrial area. So all of this was contributing to the failure of the lake, or the failure of the park, which was also then contributing actually to the deteriorating health of the lake. So this was an opportunity to redesign a critical shoreline in Buffalo, which partners like Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper, groups you might be familiar with, had been envisioning doing something like this for about 30 years. And so you can see the new design is a natural scalloped shoreline. What you don't see here, but which is also part of this, is that the entirety of the park is elevated between 10 and 30 feet. This is a park, if you remember going down to LaSalle Park, you could just see clear across. There weren't many trees, it's a flat park, 2 or 3 feet up from the water. Now it's 10 or 12 feet up from the water, and then hills 30 feet above throughout the park, which is just a massive investment when you think about what it would take to move 3 cubic yards around your backyard. Think about a 100-acre park. And again, just like the bridge, the design team did not just call this one in and dump a bunch of stones on the shoreline. They got a number of agencies, the Environmental Protection Agency, a number of federal environmental groups involved to rebuild 1 mile of shoreline with an armored edge. You might have seen this, you see it in Dunkirk, you see it on Route 5, you see it at the Outer Harbor. We're getting a ton of national recognition for what we did here because the pitch is a little slower, but you can also see the nooks and crannies. So this is important because if you think about throwing water, if I threw water against this wall, it would just bounce back, right? This part of the park, or the park actually, is the bullseye for some of the most intense storms in the city of Buffalo. And that's because, wind and waves kind of pick up from Cleveland. There's a land funnel right there with Canada, the end of the lake, the beginning of the river. And so the park is the bullseye. It's the most intense area in the city of Buffalo for storms. We're hard pressed to have a park there, but now we do, and it's beautiful. And so we needed to do something to absorb all that energy. Part of that was lifting the park much higher above sea level, and the other part of that was this armored shoreline. So now, when you think about throwing water against a bunch of rocks or against a bunch of soil, it just absorbs it. So previously, these harsh winds and waves would hit the seawall, and then they would bounce back, and they would either split the oncoming wave or roar into the park. So driftwood and water used to end up all the way to the other side, near the highway, right? So that is not a good thing anyway. You don't want the park to float like that. But then when the water recedes, when it goes underwater, it takes the park with it. So it took all that seawall underneath the water with it. So the seawall was truly falling in on itself. This is absorbing the wave energy down to 0. So now a harsh wave hits this and it just dissipates. What's also important here is you can see an area called the Fish Hive, that this area of the lake was not healthy because there was no place for fish and grasses to really take root. But now we put in a number of places where they can kind of like build their homes, and the lake as a result is doing great. We have tons of fish returning, tons of birds returning. And that investment in the biohabitat continues into this inlet. So this is a 2-acre lagoon. So we basically returned part of the lake to itself. This inlet is 12 feet deep. It's not a place where we want people to kayak or swim. The investment here is really just in the biohabitat. So when the lake is volatile, this area is completely placid. And that's because this is an area for like the fish and the wildlife to start building their habitats. And so we put a number of I call them starter homes, but we put like some of the trees that had to come down are put in there. This was a big effort with a binational group of people to understand how we can build something within the park that not only absorbs the lake effect, but also invests in the health of the lake, and we're seeing it. Like when we get visits from federal agencies monthly, not right now we're not, but they were coming and saying, this is going to be the place to fish for trout soon. This is like what we're seeing here is much greater than we anticipated. So the community developed a vision for a world-class societal park that was more than that 20 to 30 acres. The community's vision expanded the project to transform the entire 100-acre park with the addition of 2 major infrastructure projects, that pedestrian bridge and the rebuilt shoreline, including the inlet. So this is a big project, and the community wanted the very, very best design team in the world to design it. That design firm is called Michael Van Valkenburg & Associates. He's often considered the current day Frederick Law Olmsted. He's designed parks all over the world, but a handful in the country. To share kind of what the scale of this looks like in a community, I think the closest community, many communities don't have a park like this. Most communities don't have a park designed by Michael Van Valkenburg and his team. There's a park like this in Tulsa. In the late 90s, the highest annual visitorship for one of their institutions was about 500,000 people. It was their zoo. It was an off year where they had way more visitors than normal. They have a park like this and they get 7 million annual visitors in a place like Tulsa, Oklahoma. We anticipate that we'll have 1 million+ annual visitors conservatively because this is a park where maybe you come for 15 minutes, but you stay for the day. It's a park that in 5 years, anybody who comes to Buffalo is going to go to this park. It's a park that not only is going to be a city attraction, it's going to be a regional attraction and beyond, because there's nothing around here like it. So our partners, the community did design this, but it took visionary funders to invest in something of this scale. That's the Ralph Wilson Foundation. At the end of the day, this is going to be a $250 million investment in a city of Buffalo Park. Unheard of, right? If you ask anyone in the city, anyone in the country, where are they building a $250 million park? Nobody would say Buffalo. It's happening in Buffalo. But then all these other partners that you can see that are coming together to do this. Ralph Wilson, a founding member of the Foolish Club, got a Foolish Club t-shirt on right now. He believed in Buffalo when no one else did. In 1959, Ralph Wilson and 7 others formed the AFL, and they were called the Foolish Club, because they were foolish enough to believe that they could even compete with the NFL. Ralph Wilson made a $25,000 investment to buy the Buffalo Bills. And he was called foolish. He said, hey, I'll be the president of the Foolish Club. Over and over and over again, Ralph Wilson kept the Bills in Buffalo. I mean, you read the stories. You remember when the Bills were almost sold off to LA, because he believed that Buffalo deserved it. His wife, Mary, who's a remarkable leader in her own right, if you know her, and the Ralph Wilson Foundation have doubled down on that belief in Buffalo when they invested in the transformation of our largest waterfront park. And why? Because Buffalo deserves it. An investment like this creates a massive economic engine for the city. We can't guarantee a lot in the next few years, but we can guarantee that we can deliver a world-class park, and it will change the narrative about Buffalo. And that Ralph Wilson Park is a powerful example of what becomes possible when we choose to invest boldly, listen deeply, and act collectively. Ralph Wilson Park is not just another park renovation. It's a once-in-a-generation, once-in-a-city's lifetime transformation of our waterfront and of our public space. We saw an opportunity to do more than just fix a park. We saw the chance to create something that would stimulate local businesses, increase property values, provide safe year-round recreation, protect our shoreline from worsening storms, and give every family in the region a reason to spend a day at the waterfront. And we've seen what this means in other places. We've seen this work elsewhere. There's the High Line in New York City, there's Smale Riverfront Park in Cincinnati. Each of these signature parks catalyzed new development, drew tourism, and changed the way that people felt about their cities. And in Buffalo, we're doing it our way, locally driven, deeply rooted, and as a throwback to the beginning of the city in the late 1800s, world class. Our nonprofit, the Ralph Wilson Park Conservancy, was created to steward this long-term vision. It's to ensure that this park is not just built well, but maintained beautifully. The Ralph Wilson Park Conservancy is a nonprofit. We're in a public-private partnership with the City of Buffalo, and together we're modeling a new way to care for public space. So how do we do this? By building world-class maintenance, operations, and security teams. So to that end, a lot of what we do is right now raising money and building the team. All the stuff behind the scenes that makes it so that when you come down to Ralph Wilson Park, or you and your families come down to Ralph Wilson Park, all you think of is, wow. And then, this is clean, safe, and beautiful. I feel safe here. This is clean. Wow, it's beautiful. So construction began 2.5 years ago. We're wrapping up that first phase of construction. We're hoping that what you see right here is going to be open by this upcoming summer. And the second phase of construction is underway right now. That second phase includes the kayak launch, the playground, the dog park, all that's being built right now, and we're hoping that it opens up to the public in 2028. This project is having ripple effects. We're seeing the new energy around the waterfront, new collaboration across government sectors about what's possible when you partner with a public organization, new excitement about what else is possible. I think this is we got a ton of excitement. Globally, we got, thousands of people following what we're doing at Ralph Wilson Park because they were following the bridge coming up the Erie Canal. And it put Buffalo on the map for a lot of people. It put Buffalo back on the map again for a lot of people. But now they're staying tuned. They're asking us when it's opening. They're asking us when they can walk across the bridge. All that to say, actually, I'll go back and why I'm here today. All that to say, we're getting a lot of attention globally and nationally for what we're doing here. But I think most people in Buffalo have no idea that this is happening. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you today. We need people to know about this. In 5 years, everyone's gonna know about this, right? The reason that I want people to know about it before it opens is that it's really important that our community takes ownership for it. That this isn't just something that was built for us by the Ralph Wilson Foundation. This is something that was designed by our community with visionary funders like the Ralph Wilson Foundation, the state of New York, the city of Buffalo, a number of federal agencies. But it's actually up to all of us to steward it and to maintain it. That's actually why, so I'm wearing this Foolish Club t-shirt. Earlier this week, we announced the Foolish Club, where, we told that you know the story of the Foolish Club. Ralph Wilson believed in Buffalo when few else did. He bought a team in a city with a declining population, and then he doubled down, because he believed that Buffalo deserved it. So we're trying to get as many people to get in on that energy, that legendary investment, that risk to act boldly. I think if you ask a lot of people, like, why are we putting a $250 million park in a city that's under-resourced? We have so many other problems, right? Because when you create a really high-quality, safe, clean, public space where people can gather, where kids can play, it actually changes the community. There is the economic investment. We're seeing housing values increase. We're seeing businesses pop up around the park. But think about what that means for kids, right? So in a community that is pretty segregated, but in a city that's incredibly diverse, growing up in a park like this, where you can play with kids across lines of difference, where parents can see other parents loving their kids, you build trust instantly. You don't have to go learn about it in a DEI session, you're just playing with a kid. So in 30 years, when our kids have had the opportunity to grow up in a place like this, that's clean, safe, and beautiful, they will be making decisions that are very different than decisions that we're making now, and that will lead our community to do better things. I'm hoping that you're excited about this as I am. There's a lot of ways to continue to get involved. The first one is to just share this with your family. Talk about this. Tell your friends. You can also sign up for our newsletter. We would be happy to take you down on tours. I would be happy to come back and tell you about the transformation. But for now, please just help us share the story. I think as we get closer to opening, what is true is that we just can't guarantee a lot in Buffalo, right? There's a lot changing in the city of Buffalo. We can't guarantee that Josh Allen will win us the Super Bowl. I sure hope he does. I think we all do. We can't guarantee that the Sabres will ever make the playoffs again. But I know that would cure a lot of our collective anxiety. But what I can guarantee in that 5 years when this entire park is open, when people talk about Buffalo, they're going to be talking about Ralph Wilson Park. And I want all of us to be a part of that. I can guarantee that we're going to deliver that world-class park, but it's going to take all of us to maintain it. So the first thing you can do is stay engaged. You can sign up for our newsletter. If you're on social media, we post a lot of construction photos so you can see the progress there. The second thing would be to tell your network, tell your friends, tell your family, tell them about what's going on, get their interest piqued. And if you want to support us, become part of the Foolish Club, which you also get this cool t-shirt. The Foolish Club, we're trying to make it, it's about how many people, not how much. It's $25 a year to sustain Ralph Wilson Park. And with that, you get a t-shirt, but you also, I don't know if you want it, but you get a beer at Brightsmith, you get a coffee at Timmy Ho's, you'll get a car wash at Delta Sonic. But the point is that most people don't know about the Foolish Club. They don't know about the story of the Foolish Club when Ralph Wilson created the Buffalo Bills. Most people don't know about Ralph Wilson Park. They don't know what's going on there. And we're trying to create as much excitement as we can because this is a once in a city's lifetime investment, and we want our community to be as excited about it as we know they will be in 5 years when it opens. Foolish or not. Thank Thank you. And I can also answer any questions if you have questions.
Does anyone have questions for Katie?
I do. Is the Conservancy going to build up towards the pumping stations? Because I saw some vacant land there.
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me get back to an aerial image. The question is the Conservancy going to build up towards the pumping station? So this is the pumping station, which is also an important note that we're sitting on critical infrastructure. This is where we get our fresh water for Buffalo. So this part of, I don't know if you can see it, but at the top of the park, when you enter the park, this top part right here, that is not part of the design phase, nor is the amphitheater. So on one hand, building a park is never, it's never complete. You're always building it. On the other hand, the Conservancy is responsible for doing that. And so when I say we're out there raising money, I mean it. We're out there trying to raise money not just so we can maintain the park with landscaping, we can create a security presence that doesn't exist really in City of Buffalo parks, but also so that we can make capital improvements around the rest of the park.
Is that a pool?
That is a pool, and it's one of the nicest City of Buffalo pools. I think what's important about this site, if you're a City of Buffalo resident or if you've lived in the City of Buffalo, this is the park. This is a beloved park for the City of Buffalo, right? I grew up at this park. I grew up in the Elmwood Village. People who lived on the east side grew up in this park. People who lived in, probably not South Buffalo because they had great parks, but North Buffalo, they grew up at this park because it had the nicest pool and it was the best place to watch a sunset. A lot of families would have their reunions or cookouts here, and that amphitheater is where most people, at least in my generation, saw their first concert. So this park is beloved by our community, and the transformation of it is reflective of what it's meant for our community, and there's this incredible massive investment, and there's still going to be more to do. What's exciting about that investment is that you say, oh, $250 million investment, like that's nuts. And then you go down and see it, you'll see it in a little bit when you come down there, and then you start thinking, what else is possible for Buffalo? Like, we do deserve the best. What else is possible? Now we have the AKG, we have a world-class art gallery, and now we have a world-class park.
Where will the million people park?
Really good question. Where will the million people park? We don't know. I will share that around for an award. We are acquiring this parcel just for our nonprofit, not for parking, for some parking, but also for our, there wasn't necessarily a thought about where will the Conservancy house its maintenance team or where will people park. I think that there are other challenges. Buffalo has had other developments where they didn't necessarily think about where people will park. And so I was actually just on the phone with the Thruway Authority earlier this week saying, we've got to start thinking about how people will get here and where they'll park. So all that to say, we don't know. There will be as many parking spots as in the previous park, but there will obviously be probably thousands% more visitors. So there are lots in various places across here. We have started sending out queries for shuttles. We have started sending out queries for an investment in an electric bike that has a seat, which is actually part of a senior group created this in Denmark as a way to get seniors and younger people outside more. So we thought about different things that we could do. And I think the issue is that this is a regional question, but I think that our organization is going to try to force us to resolve it.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, have a good weekend, everybody. Go Bills.